Hey, everyone, Andy Hall. You already know who I am. Most of you are from the other show. There might be someone who just straggled in here for the first time. It's like, hey, what is this show all about? This is after party after show from the Disappointed Cat morning show. Open room. If people jump in, we have conversations. If they don't, I talk into the void for 10 minutes, say maybe something funny, maybe not. I don't know. But that's how we run things. And the show runs until about 11 o'clock when there are people that show up. Hope everyone's doing. Geo, Sam, and remember Sammy Jenkins. Hope you are both doing well this morning. I'm not doing too poorly. The cat did wake me up, like I said, at 2:15 this morning, and then I went back to sleep. Slept in late. Slept in till about 6:30, which is late for me. Of course, I was up late too. I was on somebody else's show, doing funny things, talking about personal responsibility. So yeah, that's what I've been up to. I don't know. Just cruising through I don't know if anyone's been, I'm on Twitter, right? I was on Twitter earlier today, and it turns out that Eric Trump was talking about how people are stopping him in the streets. They're stopping him in the streets to hug him and say how much they miss their dad, how much they miss his dad. And it's like, and this is just typical of what a-holes say. It's like, regardless of what your dad did, we still, he believes in America, which is like not true. Let's see. Has everyone looked at Bitcoin? There's blood on the streets in terms of cryptocurrency. Huge sell-off that's been going on for days. Did I own a little bit of cryptocurrency? Sure. Did I get out before the crash? Yes, I did. Did I make a little bit? Sure. When you only have a little bit to invest, even if you make big gains, you still only make a little bit of money, everyone. Yeah, you get a little bit of money, you make a little bit of money, basically. So, but yeah, there's a lot of people getting burned out there. A lot of money just disappearing overnight. One of the things, Geo Sam says, Trump threw everyone who supported him under the bus. Indeed, yeah. Everything's all about Trump, about nobody else but Trump. So, one of the things I tell my kids, skepticism 101 stuff. I don't know, who's here at parents, but one of the topics I talk to my kids about is of the tulip crisis, or the tulip economic bubble. I think it was in the 1630s in Holland. And for those of you who don't know, which I imagine the crowd here already knows about the tulip economic bubble, that tulips. Oh, hey, Dave's here. What's up, Dave? You saved me from talking about tulips. So there we go.
Yeah, I was hustling to get me some coffee. Cheers.
Oh, coffee. Yeah, cheers. Cheers.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
there is no such place as Canada.
Canada. There's no. Are you sure?
It's, I know you're a long way away from here, but I will come there and shave your cat's ass if you keep saying Canada. You have this little bald ass to look at all day long in the back of your cat.
Oh, those are threats. That's. Hey, what's up, Sammy?
G'day, folks. Yeah, it's not Canada. It's Canada A.
Canada A. Does that mean there's Canada Bay?
Canada B.
Where are you from? Canada.
And I would hate to see what America Bay would look like, to tell you the truth.
This is true.
So, though England might be following our steps.
I have to say, I'm excited about this. Sorry, you go, Dave.
Oh no, I was just going to say this cat nonsense at 2 a.m. Was this just a thing where you're not used to having a critter running around your house at 2 a.m, or did it actually pounce? Or
it made a conscious decision to come up to my face and say, "Hey,
you're my new dad."
Is it time to feed me yet? It's like, no, it's not time to feed you yet, Biscuit. And then it just went off somewhere else.
So the cat did the thing like where it wakes you up to tell you look really peaceful while you're sleeping. Go back to sleep.
Just making sure you're okay.
I just woke you up to tell you to go to sleep.
Canada is where the gnomes and fairies live. Imaginary god, indeed.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was me. Like I said, I slept in till 6:30, maybe 6:45 or so.
I slept all the way till my alarm went off this morning, which I usually don't do. So
Right. Because you weren't in bed until like 1, right, Dave? You were working until what, 1 or so?
No. I ended up not working yesterday afternoon, but I was on Neil's stream Neil's stream got a little out of control last night with the cheesy puns.
Okay.
Yeah, if you ever want to know every cheesy pun, good or bad, that's ever been spoken, just watch the last 40 minutes of that stream.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it was unhinged.
And for those of you who don't know, Neil does deconversion stories a couple of times a week, like 3 times a week, Dave?
3 times.
Yeah.
Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday.
Yeah. And of course, he's with us on Atheists Drinking Out Loud, which will be at the last Saturday of this month. Woo!
He's also doing intermittently. He's one of the hosts, the roster of hosts of the nonprofits. So you can see him on there every now and then.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah.
Tesla Ranger. I have to say, if I was in that situation, I will admit that cat would be kicked in the head or launched across the room with my feet. Just saying. Anybody, anything, any creature that woke me up licking my feet is going to cop those feet to its head.
Otherwise, pacifist. But
absolutely.
But it's the feet. That's where you draw the line.
Yeah. Oh well, waking me up.
Oh yeah.
And licking my feet. Some consensual feet licking's all right, but
right.
Don't wake me up doing it.
Andy, I just shared my screen. This is my sister's cat, and you can tell by the look on its face how it feels about me.
Yeah, right.
So that's my coffee mug behind it. My coffee mug is still at her house.
Oh.
This is a Bengal cat, so it can jump about 7 times its body length. It has a super long tail. If you notice, it's like really long.
It's very aerodynamic.
They're hyper agile. They're very wiry, more so than domestic cats because they have more wild cat in them. Uh-huh. So she says, don't mess with the cat. If it comes up to you, you can pet it. But if it, makes a motion towards you, it's going to strike. So, it likes certain people and it doesn't like everyone else. So, of course, I crash in the spare room and I wake up in the morning and it's morning time. And there's the cat lying on my chest, staring blankly into my face. And I'm thinking, is it just pondering which way it's going to kill me or
it's thinking of all the different ways it can kill you?
Yeah. Look at this meat sack leaping away. Stupid grin on its face.
Do you feel lucky?
Yeah.
Well,
I got your eye.
And I got to tell you, if you pet these things, they are like 5 times softer than a regular cat. Their fur is really, really thick. And it's like the plushiest microfiber pajamas you could ever imagine.
And yet they are deadly.
Yes, and they will tear your face off. These are they're actually the type of cats when people say, if you died in your sleep, your cat would eat your body and survive. These are the ones who do that. Yeah.
Wow. Well, knowing my diet, what are we going? Oh, I want to say hello to Clockwork Rex. How you doing?
Clockwork? Hey, Andy. Hey, Dave. Hey, Sammy.
Rex.
Clockwork.
Yeah, speaking of Neil's show, I was on it last night. Which part was all punny? Was it the after show?
Oh yeah, it was definitely the after show. It was
Okay.
we were all wondering what happened to you because he was about to do an around the horn question. He's like, let's start with my guest. Hey, where'd Rex go?
My router crapped out on me.
Oh,
I
We-
had to reset it like 3 times.
We had a problem with the YouTubes last night. There was an issue going on, and his stream dropped for me about 7 times. That's why I didn't join in, because I didn't know if it was me or if it was something else. So I was just in the chat. But apparently, it was YouTube had an issue at their end.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Well, I reset my router 3 times, and I had like 6 or 7 beers, so I was like, "Fuck it," and went and passed out.
Yeah, well, he must have passed out, because when he realized that you were gone, he was like, "Well, I sent him a text and he hasn't returned my message." So.
Clockwork, I find that my router doesn't work well either after having a bunch of beers.
Well, yeah. Well, no, I did. I actually took like a toothpick and hit the reset button like 3
What?
times.
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah, it was weird. I live out in the middle of
Sounds
bumfuck
painful.
nowhere, so my internet can go out at any time without warning.
We will treasure each and every moment that you're here with us, sir.
Thank you very much. Today is my birthday.
Oh, hey, congratulations.
Happy birthday!
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am 48 years young.
48. I remember 48.
So that's what Neil said.
I don't think I was making good decisions at 48.
Unlike I haven't ever
47.
made good decisions. Well, you're
Unlike
supposed to learn from your
46.
mistakes. So.
But yeah, you're supposed to. But when they're tied
Yeah.
to orgasms, it's
Oh,
really
well,
difficult.
fair enough.
Evolution finds a way, gentlemen.
Yes.
And chat. Evolution finds a way of short-circuiting the frontal lobes of rational thought.
Oh, yeah. Especially if you've had a few.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, let me tell you this. I just watched the Zack Snyder cut of Justice League, and if you've got 4 hours to spare, it is worth watching.
Is it?
It's a completely different movie.
I tried to watch the original cut on a plane. I was on a flight years ago at this point, and I found it to be unwatchable. I just thought
It was crap. It was crap. Josh Whedon took over when something happened to his daughter. I think she might have actually died.
Oh, wow.
But Zack Snyder went in. He's like, "Fuck this shit," and fixed it all. Now it's 4 hours long, but it's cut up into parts. There's 6 parts.
Is it like a Quentin Tarantino movie where there's different chapters?
Sort of. Yeah, there's part 1 and it's got a name, and then there's part 2 and it's got a name.
No.
And then,
Interesting.
so you can watch like 2 parts and then come back and watch 3 and 4 and then watch 5 and 6. So
Was it like they were trying to cram like 2 different movies? I mean, or 2 movies into one movie? Because when the movie is like 4 hours long, and that's so good.
Apparently he reshot a bunch of it and re-edited it, and so a bunch of stuff was left on the floor apparently in the editing room, and he was just like, "No, we're going to use this, and this." So,
Well, how about that?
yeah.
Well,
And the ending is great.
is it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you might be selling me on watching the Zack Snyder cut.
It's worth a watch. It's worth a watch.
I have a Pathos blogger coming on the channel, Secular Cinephile. He's an interesting person. He does movie reviews. He's also a psychiatrist and an atheist, of course. And he's going to be on the channel, I think, next week or so. We're going to talk all about atheism, film, and maybe a little bit of psychiatry, too. Who knows?
Okay, cool. Cool.
Just as a cheap plug for the channel.
Oh, thanks for the happy birthdays from the YouTube.
Yeah, so what are you doing besides being, are you doing anything to celebrate?
It's raining right now, so I don't know.
All right, yeah.
I'm not sure.
As many of you know, I do a pub crawl on my birthday, and so yeah, I'm looking forward to that in a month or so. Geo Sam says I need to be tied down to watch a 4-hour movie. I hear what you're saying, Geo Sam. It's far more difficult to watch a 4-hour movie in your own house as against it being in the theater, because in the theater, at least, you are somewhat restricted from distractions.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't watch a 4-hour movie in a theater. I can barely watch a 3-hour movie in a theater. I'd rather watch it at home and watch 2 hours and then take a little break, grab a little bite to eat, and then settle back in for the second half.
That's what I did. Yeah, that's what I did. But the first 45 minutes, I was like, this is a completely different movie. This is not what I watched before. So
now, if you haven't seen the original, would you watch the original first, or would you just watch the second one?
No, just watch the Zack Snyder one. Yeah, that other one is just crap.
Okay.
It's just crap.
Paul Camish is there. Paul Camish?
Hey.
Oh, we see the buffering. Paul
There.
Camish. There you go. What's up, Paul? You got a really bad connection, brother.
Your connection is somewhere between not and bad.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, like Far Side of the Moon. Yeah.
I saw La Dolce Vita, the Fellini movie, and that's about 3 hours long. And black and white movie. It's a beautiful movie from 1960, and it's worth seeing if you have 3 hours.
Right.
And if you're a fan of existential, movies from that, existential themed movies from that time period. And I think, at least I got the impression as I was watching it, is that Fellini made a choice to make it that long just to grind the viewer down.
Put them into the mental state they need to see the ending.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that's valid to do. But yeah, it was like 3 hours. It's like, wow. And it's just like what you were saying, Clockwork, about how the new Justice League is cut up into chapters, because that's what the Fellini movie I'm talking about was. It was definitely cut up into chapters and made it more portable, I guess. Oh, here, Paul Camish is back again.
Yeah, it should be all right now. I don't know why it is. I've got a different car, but it's still doing the same thing. If I'm connected to my car on the Bluetooth and I try and talk, it all breaks up and goes echoing. So I've got to turn the Bluetooth off and basically do it through the phone.
Whatever works. Yeah.
But it's annoying because obviously you don't get the volume on your phone as you do if it goes through the car. I thought I'd jump in just for a couple of minutes because I'm just about to set off to go home. It's that time of day. I've just finished work.
Oh.
We've lost Andy now.
Yeah.
Welcome to the after show. We are now running the show. Andy's been kicked out. It's now our stream. We can do what we want.
The inmates are running the asylum. Woohoo!
Yeah, the lunatics are running the asylum. Yeah. Oh, it's back.
I bet you the cat probably chewed through his cable or something.
Yeah.
He's not used to the cat yet.
So Clockwork, you can convert it yourself into miles, but thought you might be interested to know that seeing as you've gone around the sun 48 times now, you've traveled 7,152,000,000 kilometers. So congratulations, sir.
Well, thank you. I'm getting there.
I always like to look at my birthday
that was only
in terms
accurate
of...
when you said it. That was only accurate when you said it. It's now gone further.
Well, it was accurate actually on his birthday.
Yeah.
Right.
So you've probably gone quite a ways past that now.
It depends what time you were born, right? Nobody's born at like 12:01. So, well, I suppose somebody's born at 12:01. I wasn't.
Yes,
I was born at 9:40 at night. I think tonight.
I was born at 7:13 a.m.
But do you have to take into account leap years in that though?
And daylight savings time.
Yeah.
And where you are on the Earth, I suppose. Because the Earth is spinning.
Yeah, but I suppose you'd class the Earth as one body moving as a mass, wouldn't you? So it'd be one distance it's travelled. The whole mass will have travelled a certain distance.
But that's not even taking into account our solar system traveling as well. And then the galaxy
rotation of the
spinning.
The rotation of the Earth, yeah.
Yeah, you're not frozen now.
So
Not
what we're
frozen,
saying
Andy.
is a
Let me
rough
unfrozen myself.
a rough estimate of the local presentation of your miles traveled within our own universe from the time you were born until your birthday would be about whatever it was, 7 billion something.
But only traveled around your local star.
Yes, local solar system. Yeah.
Yeah, your local
Solar system, yeah. I think you said
perception
universe.
of space-time, because time and space are relative. So there's that.
Yeah, and talking about all that, I've got myself into bother again. I've got myself in another debate on Friday morning with a Christian flat earther.
Oh, God.
I can't wait.
I feel sorry for you, my friend.
Why do I do it to myself?
I don't know. I gave up on flat earthers a long time ago.
Well, so
like,
are you?
"There." Go ahead.
Are you? Are you going to be discussing Christianity and the flat Earth, or just Christianity, or just the flat Earth?
It will be all over the place. It'll be both, and probably about another 10 topics on top of that as well.
Oh, sure, because every time you make a good point, they'll shift the subject.
Yeah, and I've spoke to this guy before, and he doesn't listen to you at all. You'll say something, and he'll just start talking halfway through what you're saying, as if he hasn't heard a word you've said, and he'll go on to something else. And you've got to go, hang on a minute, slow down. We haven't addressed this point. And
you're talking to Nathan Thompson.
No,
about as bad as that, yeah.
They come to a debate prepared, and I believe that all they want to do by engaging in a debate is popularize their own opinions
That's
in a
right.
forum where other people can hear them. And they have a sheet and a list, and they're going from point 1 to point 50, and they don't care what you say in between, and they won't address it, and they won't answer questions. When you say, I have a question about what you said previously, they'll be looking at their notes at what the next point they want to make is, and they will weave that into the answer.
Yeah, I think you're right. They're just trying to get as much of their side of their information out as much as possible, and totally ignore the conversation that you're having.
Yeah.
So, Dave, what you're saying is that I could make a pretty penny by writing jokes for atheists who are debating these fools.
Yes.
Probably, yeah.
Absolutely.
Get some done by. In fact, I said Friday. It's not Friday. It's a week on Friday. So yeah,
It's a
get
week.
some wrote out. Email them on to me, and I might be able to use them in the debate.
All right. So, Paul, message me the name of the guy that you're debating. I want to take a look at his channel.
Oh yes, I will. He'll drive you mad. I have spoken to him a few times before.
Paul, what channel is the debate on?
It's going to be on his channel,
Okay.
but I am going to try and live stream it at the same time onto my channel. Is that difficult to do? I think it should be.
Not if he's using Restream.
I use Restream.
Yeah.
It's going to be on StreamYard.
Yeah, but you can connect to that through Restream.
Right. What's Restream? Is it a different platform I need to?
Yeah, it's a platform like you use Restream, and then you can use like StreamYards or Zoom or whatever you're using to generate your video and push it through there to multiple sources. So, or multiple,
all right. Yeah, I'll look into that because I quite fancy having it streaming on my channel at the same time, so it's live on mine rather than putting it on after we've had the debate.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll look into that.
Thick earthers.
Thick earthers.
So what did the flat earther say to gravity?
So yeah, it should be a bit of fun. I know for a fact he'll go down the religious side because he claims that the Bible says that the Earth is flat due to the firmament and all the other things that are in the Bible.
Well,
the firmament and the pillars and the dome and all that shit. Yeah.
The Bible is definitely an incomplete description. like what is recorded. And you could easily take, like, the Bible says anything if you interpret it hard enough, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, sure.
if you take the same passage that he says, and you say there's a dome, sure, from any point on earth you can see a visible dome because we live on a globe.
Mm-hmm.
There is a dome of atmosphere around us.
Yeah.
And that, we're talking about a conversion from a different language where they didn't have the knowledge of science or the scientific literacy or words to describe things that we use today. So dome was a word that was used for a lot of things. And yeah, it can mean atmosphere and the way that an atmosphere surrounds a globe. Andy, stop doing that.
I don't know what's going on.
All right, coffee break.
Okay.
Yeah. Should
Did
be
anyone
taken.
notice my old late spheroid thick joke in the chat? I think it was pretty magical myself.
Oh, well, technically you're right.
But doesn't the Bible doesn't say dome? It says firmament,
Yeah.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
which can be interpreted in even more ways.
It could be in one of those geodesic, with the many different, like what was it? The one of those crazy geodesic domes.
What was the guy's name?
Yeah, and in the passage somewhere in the Bible that says that didn't God go up to one of the highest mountains so he could see the whole of the, or he could see the four corners of the earth? Isn't that somewhere along them lines in there?
Something like that. And I got a joke. It's like God spread men's wives to the four corners of the earth, but he made the earth round, and then he just laughed and laughed and laughed.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm going to jump out because I was hoping I could have it playing while I was driving, but I won't be able to because it'll be too noisy. So I'll just have to listen to you.
Fair enough. Take care, Paul.
I'll jump out because I'm going to travel on. All right, then.
See you,
Catch
Paul.
you all later. Ta-da. Bye.
Andy, you're muted.
Andy dealing with technical problems. It's not pretty. It's
I
not pretty.
think Paul had that buzz.
Hey, you did the best you can with what you got.
Right.
So I have to say I'm hopefully optimistic. I'm an optimistic person in general, I'd like to say. But I'd like to hope that this move with the what city was it that are revamping their police force?
Oakland.
Well,
yeah, Oakland's the one that's doing the teams out there that are non-police related, but dealing with low-level 911 calls.
Wow, I didn't even hear about that.
You sort of mentioned most of what I would find concerning. How are these volunteers going to be paid, and how are they going to be trained? Yeah. But those two things, if they're dealt with properly, I think it is an absolutely amazing idea.
Yeah.
And I could just imagine someone like B was saying in the chat. I could imagine someone like her being in that sort of a role. Someone like yourself, even, Andy.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Would actually create, quite a few new job opportunities as well.
This is true. There would be nothing but, what would make it great is if they funded it with marijuana money.
Oh, yeah, that would be perfect.
Andy, do you remember the Guardian Angels organization?
Oh, I remember the Guardian Angels, sure. Yeah.
And how great they were when they started out and how tragic they were when they ended.
They started out when, Dave? Back in the 70s?
I don't know if it was the 70s. I think it was the 80s. I think it was around mid 80s. If I'm not mistaken, but yeah, somebody in the chat will correct us quickly.
Yeah, indeed.
I can't remember if they were in New York or in New Jersey or both.
They're probably both.
They spread pretty quickly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you had that one quote unquote leader of them that was always on TV talking shit.
Yeah.
I got tired of him real quick.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
But do you know, having said that, do you know what would be cheaper, logistically easier, and just makes more fucking sense? Teach your police to de-escalate. I know.
Oh yeah.
Again, that's my horse that I like to flog, but
You know, it's
so
like saying
simple.
one.
We're coming up with these wonderful new ways to completely revamp the police force.
Yeah.
Why don't we train our police?
There, and you're right, Sammy, by saying that we need to have this other force outside of the police department is somewhat of a recognition of the fact that the police department it's unwieldable. It's just impossible to get anything done regarding police, police policies, and so we have to do this other thing over here.
Well, we are definitely moving in a direction where when you call emergency services, which is what 911 is, right? Police, fire, and ambulance. When you call someone because you need public services, you need assistance, we're moving in a direction now where they will dispatch a police officer or a police cruiser or a police presence to make sure that the scene is secure and then leave. They're not the right people to have there to deal with the situation. Make sure it's safe and then proceed accordingly, right? So that has to be the way that North America at least goes in that direction, especially the United States, especially considering the gun ownership and the division between people right now. There's, what politicians have done to the country for the last 6-7 years has just made it so volatile that, like, unwieldy is a good word for it. It's difficult to know what the next moment or the next day or the next year is going to present down there, because it could change so drastically in one direction or the other. What if Trump gets elected again? What does the United States look like after that?
Am I crazy to think, am I being too simplistic to think that implementing, say, ride-along police in your ambulances, it would be such an impossible task to...
It's unaffordable. You can barely get enough cops to go to a scene where a cop is required. That's why I say they show up, and then the people, the ambulance, the firemen, the whoever shows up, and the police leave to get on to work where they're needed, right? Secure the scene, the scene's secure, leave.
Yeah. Well, it's like fighting a wildfire, right? When you have a shitty society where crime just like pops up like a wildfire, then the only thing the police are doing are going from one wildfire, one outbreak to another, and it's of course we all know this, right? It's like making a less shitty society is the key of decreasing crime and decreasing the power of the police in general.
Well, you also have to look at it from a perspective of not only job creation, but budget, right? So you need to have a police force. You need to have those services available. You need to have fire and ambulance. You need to have those things need to be budgeted and available. And you need to have people who are qualified and trained working in them. And you don't want to build a society where those are so unnecessary that they become a burden to the budget, and you start restricting how much police you have, and then that opens the door for a crime wave, right? By the other hand, if you will, you don't want to just throw so many police officers out there that there are more police than you need, and they're, where they are today, kind of in a drunk with power. There's more of us than there is of you. And, say what you want. We're going to do it the way we want. We've got our police union, and we've got enough people to back us, and we've got all the guns, right? So,
I don't know. I think that there's some parts or some elements of society that cost shouldn't even really be a factor. And our emergency services should be one of those elements. And sorry to keep dragging it back, but
No.
my issue with the have a police turn up, secure the scene, and leave is we have instances like that in Australia. And what happens is an ambulance sits 2 blocks away on the side of the road while the person dies waiting for a police to arrive.
We have that here too.
And that's, I just think, I understand the cost, but whether training paramedics could be an answer, but then the paramedics are going to be too busy dealing with whatever to actually do their job. So, perhaps having the ride-along police in certain cities, maybe where it's bad, or
I agree. There are certain areas that perhaps Oakland, where you could have a third seat in an ambulance for a peace officer or a like a scene control person or a incident advisor, whatever you want to call them. But yeah.
So this fictitious peace officer, tell me more. Are we going to ship them in from Denmark?
Yeah. Well, Ox has got a point. Teach the cops to shoot to stop, not shoot to kill. Because they're trained to shoot either in your chest or in your head. No, you kneecap him, and then
that's great in theory, but there's a bunch of things wrong with that. Number one is police officers often don't go to the shooting range for blocks of time that are 10 years or greater. So they haven't fired the weapon on their hip in a long time.
That's fair.
And the last thing you want is somebody who is inexperienced or unfamiliar with a weapon, or a weapon that you don't know how it's going to react in their hand because it hasn't been used enough, it hasn't been properly maintained or whatever. You don't want them spraying bullets at somebody. Military people are taught shoulder, center, mass, hip, right? They 3-shot bursts and they angle across the target. That's how they do it in the military. We don't necessarily want military force used in policing, but boy, I tell you, if a police officer running into a scene saw somebody with an AK-47 and could clip them in the shoulder and render them that gun basically useless because they couldn't, if you're firing an AK with one hand or an AR-15 with one hand, you'd be lucky to hit a target within 10 feet of you. So don't think for a second that those cops aren't thinking that they want the first shot that they take either through that person's eye or into their shoulder. Every damn one of them wants to put that person on the ground if they're in a mass shooting environment. And you can shoot somebody in the shoulder and cripple them for life or kill them if they bleed out. So putting bullets in people just to stop them isn't always a great idea. Even those beanbag guns, the pepper spray, the whatever, if somebody is adrenalined out or high as hell, you might not stop them with non-lethal force.
That just reminded me of the scene in the first RoboCop movie where the dude is holding the woman hostage and RoboCop like shoots through the dress and hits him in the nuts.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn.
This movie
is rated R. Yeah.
I've been on the Free Thought Profit show a number of times, and they've been exploring or really doing some investigative journalism on AAI, Atheist Alliance International. And I just came up to the conclusion of sometimes you just have to turn it off and turn it on again in terms of making anything work. Because sometimes, the culture and the structures of an organization are so corrupt and so rotten that you just have to start from scratch again. And
you got to hit the reset button.
Oh, I don't think it's that bad. I think it needs a lot of tweaking, but I don't think it's like whitewash it.
Sounds to me, if they like they do in schools, so they bring in a new curriculum and the kids of the previous curriculum stay on that curriculum till they finish school, but the kids below will be on the new curriculum. a similar idea with the police force, and it sounds to me, again, probably being simplistic here, but mandatory gun training, yearly at least.
Recertification, they call it in some places.
Yeah.
They already do that now because they've recognized it's a problem, but it's
And
called
including in different situations, not just pointing at a target, but in scenarios and things like that. Combined with a little bit of de-escalation training. And I think just those two things alone would massively change the culture of the police force.
The thing you have to remember is these people are going into unknown circumstances day after day after day in a country where everyone owns a goddamn gun. And they are taught your gun on your hip is your last resort. Don't use it, don't use it, don't use it, don't use it. And then if you absolutely have to, use it. Well, you go into a situation, and you've been into hundreds of situations before that look exactly the same. You're pulling somebody over to write a ticket, and they pull out a handgun and start firing at you. And you go from 0 to 100. Your heart rate hits 180. Your hands are shaking. You're preserving your own life, and you're definitely in a threatened situation. Now, that you may not have, it's not like the movies. You don't count and go, okay, that's 6, I'm safe.
Yeah.
You don't know how many bullets they have in a gun. They might have 15 and one in the chamber.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know if they've got 2 guns in the car. You don't know if they've got a shotgun. You don't know if somebody's going to pop out of the other side of the vehicle. You don't know if you're going to get hit by a car behind you because you're running away from an idiot spraying you with bullets on the side of the road. You turn around and you gun that MF down. That's how it works.
Those are very rare circumstances, and it's important to point out that those are outlier. Those are outlier events, and even though our minds want to glom on those, especially cops, since they're doing the job, once again with proper training, and it's important to point out the statistics too, because our brains suck at statistics. It's like these are rare events. More than likely, you will be better off de-escalating people. But I want to push for my burn it all down policy with the cops too, with my turning it off and turning it on. Those incremental reforms, that they're intransigence throughout the whole system, and every single police department, every single municipality has its own set of rules, and that's a problem. And unless we need to have a federalization of the police, basically. With one consistent set of rules.
But if you're out in the middle of the hills in some place in Montana that has population of 500, and you're in the downtown streets of New York or LA, you require and use a different policing structure.
Well, the thing is like, do the citizens still have the same rights? If I'm out in the rural area or if I'm in the city, well, of course. Should I be using a chokehold in the city? Should I be using a chokehold in the country? Well, no, you shouldn't be.
That's the thing is like when you're in downtown New York and you're a cop, you're running into people you've never met before. When you're out in a city of 500, you've known Danny since he was in grade 3, so they're different. They're a lot different. And I get what you're saying. There has to be a universalism to the training and to the application. There has to be a certain amount of the structure that has to be in that sort of alignment. And I honestly think that they should do things like the military does, where like in the US military, the Canadian military, the British military, they actually send people around to the other militaries to have that experience. And there's nothing wrong with Joe the cop from Montana spending a couple of weeks in LA and figuring it out in the big scene and maybe imparting on them some knowledge about de-escalation and calling people by their name and
I agree with you about cops going to other areas, but maybe they should go to Canada.
You son of a bitch.
Well,
I was just sitting here thinking, when you get the basic training in the Army, you've got people from all over the United States in your unit.
Yeah.
And you're all taught the same thing. So maybe something like that will work.
Well, I won't comment on whether it's a good or bad thing because I don't know where I stand on it. But here in Australia, once you graduate from or into the police force, you always get placed in our biggest and worst cities.
Yeah.
And
do you know why
which
that
is kind of, it sounds crazy putting our newbies
Least
in the
experienced
worst
officers?
Yeah, but I
that's
guess
because there's a police union and because the people with seniority get to choose the areas they patrol.
That's correct. So you have to work your way up to being able to go where you want.
Ooh, I just got some good news on email.
But
real.
I think the general population believe that it's done to train them up. In the sort of throw them in the deep end, as it were.
Well, what it sounds like, it's like you're going to throw rookie cops into areas full of poor people. And so that's better to have them in an area full of poor people than it is in an affluent community.
Dave, it's not a Nigerian prince, and you're not getting $1 million.
No, Dave.
Sorry, I had to make that joke. I had to.
No, that's good. Valid.
Okay, first off, it's a Nigerian princess.
Well, okay, that's different.
And it's $9 million.
Well, that's totally different then.
Oh, jeez. Andy, I agree with your points, but I want to ask you a question about the burn it down theory. Because honestly, I'm a burn it to the ground kind of guy at heart, but I'm also a bit of a realist on the outside. So, U.S. healthcare, is it a burn it to the ground situation? Do you think it needs a restart? Do you need to flush everything down the toilet, wipe the bowl clean, and put something good on the counter?
Yes. Let me get myself into not roboting here and chopping, and let me answer your question quick.
Whoa. He did it again.
So I'm just trying to. I have to go from one window to another to make sure I'm actually fluid. So we already have a system here in the States. We don't have to shut it all down. What we do have to do is shut down most of the for-profit system here in the United States, which is really, no surprise, the profit motive for hospitals, the profit motive for insurance agencies. That's really the root of most of the problems here in the States. We already have nonprofit agencies. We have a government. We have Medicare and Medicaid, which of course can just be which can be expanded, right? And we could still have some private insurance companies for, the affluent, like they do in other countries, right? Typically, there's a 2 or 3 tier kind of system anyway, now then, that sounds like a lot of, we're just going to do little tweaks here and there. But in practice, it's burn the fucking thing down. That's what it is.
Yeah,
it is
rid of most of these fucking insurance companies.
Because the insurance companies treating this, and they should be treating this as an existential threat. For profit, we would be destroying most of the for-profit insurance companies. And so that alone, because of the entrenched powers within the industry, we would have to treat it as a fucking burn it down situation. We shouldn't fool ourselves with half measures, because we see what happens with half measures. Bankruptcy is still the number one cause of, healthcare costs is still the number one cause.
Medical bankruptcy is still.
Exactly. So we shouldn't fool ourselves. As Lenin said, you cannot play at the revolution.
If I can interject one point, what you're talking about is basically having the population through socialism overthrow the rich elites who own all of the insurance companies and are sucking like a vampire billions in blood money out of the United States population annually. And those people take that blood money and they sprinkle it over all the politicians so that they can stay in power at the top of those.
So you can say what I'm saying is that it's not a burn it all down policy, but I would say that if I was in Parliament during Charles I and I'm like, we just cut this fucker's head off, we'd all be better off. And people would say, well, you're burning it down. But you see, we already have democratic institutions within our society. This guy is preventing us from having those democratic institutions grow and be fruitful. And it's the same thing here. We just have to symbolically cut the heads off.
If I can use a ship
Exactly.
analogy, it needs to go into dry dock. It's not something you can fix while it's floating on the water. It's not like dropping a new engine in the ship. You got to take it out and pull the keel out of it. And the foundation is broken.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it has to be. Yeah. So for a simplistic way of putting it, yes, burn it all down. Though it gets more complicated than that. But I think the best simple way of talking about it is burn it all down.
I think if you're making a video for YouTube, that's what the title would have to be, burn it all down. But then you explain what you mean about, okay, well, we're not burning everything all the way to the top floor down. We're just taking the bottom 4 floors and replacing them with something that works for everybody on floor 5 to 100.
Exactly. I'm going to see if I shut off my cam. Maybe that'll make it. Maybe that'll help.
Is your cat chewing on the cable? Is that what's going on?
It's not.
You sound fine, but your video is a little choppy. So maybe.
Yeah. And the video is what irritates me. You know, maybe it's my minor autism.
Well, you remind me of that old TV show, Max Headroom.
Yeah.
That
Maximum Headroom. Yeah. He was great. Back to the days of the 90s. No, I totally get what Andy's saying here. How do you get, Sammy? You're not in this North America thing that we're doing over here. What do you think, looking at it from the outside? Would you kick the foundation out of the medical insurance industry and just let it rebirth itself on top of that, or what?
Well, I didn't know a great deal about Obamacare, but I thought it was better than I'm realizing that it is. I would have thought that it was fixable, expandable, but the more Americans I talk to, it does, I'm starting to think like Andy that it's we don't need no water, let the motherfucker burn situation.
Well, it is like he says. There's a lot of good that comes out of the healthcare system. Having a tiered healthcare system where rich elites get to go to the front of the line, and it costs them an exorbitant amount of money, and that money goes into the medical care of everyone else. There's nothing wrong with that. I wish they would do that in Canada in a bigger sense, because when you have 1% of the population paying 30% of the bills, that's good for everyone.
Yeah.
But it's definitely the insurance company. You look at things like we talked about Car Shield the other day, and homeowners insurance, and how many people get absolutely boned. Like, oh yeah, the insurance company ran out of money and folded. Well, how does that happen?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that's like, how does the casino shut down? I thought the house always won. Yeah.
Let's not get all Trumpy about that.
I'm just saying.
Doing fine.
I'm just saying. Just throwing it out there.
Hey, you're not wrong. Yeah, I'm from Canada, and I've experienced the social aspects of healthcare. And, I've broken a couple of bones in my day, and I've been to the hospital for different things. And, there's no reason that any modern country shouldn't be taking care of every person under the age of 16 for all of their medical costs, regardless.
Exactly.
Right. And if you angled the U.S. healthcare system in that direction, and put some government caps on what you can charge for medicines, what you can charge for, like, we have ratings of, you can only charge X amount of dollars for a certain service, or the healthcare insurance provider will say to you that we cover 100% of all of this stuff and 60% of everything else you're going to encounter. right? So even if the United States went to a model like that, where, you know, everyone gets to go to the dentist, everyone can get a health checkup for work as required, everyone who breaks a bone can get sorted out at the hospital. But there are certain things that, when they go beyond that normal, I hate to use the word normal, but when they go beyond that list, you pay a certain amount, but it's not going to bankrupt you.
Mm.
And it has to be capped as well. Like, you pay a fee up to $5,000 or $10,000. Giving somebody an $80,000 bill for their hospital visit when they were in a hunting accident or an ATV accident or a car accidents are usually covered by insurance. But yeah, if you're injured at work, you're covered. Why not do just that level of coverage across the board?
It's odd to me because I'm so blessed. Like, I really, I almost can't even join in conversations because I've got nothing to add. Like, it's just pure ridiculousness to me. It's disgusting. Your government's disgusting what it does to its people. What can you say? In this country, private health is if you want to go to a private hospital instead of the public system, but you're going to get treated just as good in our public health system. If it's an emergency, you're going to get seen to straight away. There's no wait list because it's the public health. Even the richest people don't pay for their treatments. They pay if they want to go to a fancy place.
Right.
It's just odd to me that a country doesn't put health anywhere. It's not even on the list of priorities.
Well, the problem is, it is on the list of priorities when it suits them. In election years, healthcare is always on the board. But what changes have happened in the last 4 presidencies to healthcare?
Yeah,
nothing.
It's gotten worse.
Yeah.
The other thing I wanted to ask you, Sammy, is a lot of the people up here, the medical professionals who work in the private industry, they are full-time employees of the social system we have. They work at a hospital, they work at a clinic, they work somewhere else as well. And if they're doing anything privately, they're doing that on the side. Is that the same where you are, or are there doctors who are completely dedicated to private healthcare?
I think there are doctors who are just private, but we also have it similar to you, where we have public doctors who will do private work. And also private doctors who have their own private hospitals but will come into public hospitals. I guess if they don't have work, if they don't have private work.
Well, I think here you have to be.
I don't know how it works. But.
I think here, in order to practice as like a surgeon or an ER doctor or something like that, I think you have to be associated to a hospital. So there's a minimum amount of work. Andy, how you doing over there? Are you clipping still? Or are you good?
I'm not. I think I'm unclipped. I do have to close things down since
I was just noticing the time there.
So I got to go to work. And so what I'm gonna do, my solution to this clipping problem, I'm gonna shut it off and then turn it back on again. And maybe that'll work. And if it doesn't, then I'll just have to burn it all down.
Definitely
burn it down. Just burn it down. Throw it out the window, burn it down.
All right, everyone. Thanks for showing up. We're doing this crazy thing tomorrow too, 9 a.m. Take care, everyone. Thanks for showing up.
Thanks, Andy.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Sure.
Thanks to everybody.